Hi, I'm Mr. Brustman here at Coon Rapids High School. Today we're going to learn about putting a rabbeted drawer together. The first thing that we need to do is we need to cut the dado for the bottom panel to slide in. So that's the first thing that we're going to go ahead and get set up. First thing I'm going to do is verify the width that we're at. We're at 4 3/4 for the width. We need to have a 1/2 inch at the bottom. The dado is going to be a 1/4 inch wide. 1/4 inch depth, half the material thickness that we have. To do that, I want to have the 1/2 inch portion on the left side of the blade. So I'll flip the guard up here so that we can see a little better. As I get this set up, I will go ahead and move my fence so that I have a 1/2 inch at the bottom. If we do a little quick math, if I'm at 4 3/4, to get that 1/2 inch at the bottom, that means I take a 1/2 inch off, I'm at 4 1/4. I also need to account for the blade thickness, so I'm going to move an additional 1/8 inch. The blade thickness is close enough to an 1/8 inch, that'll work. Okay? So, I have my 1/2 inch. I need to adjust my blade height to a 1/4 inch. With the plywood, the easiest way to do that, since we're going half the thickness, is to put the blade height in that middle layer and just center it. So I will go ahead and verify that. And it looks like we're actually pretty good from last hour. Okay. I'll go ahead and set my pieces over here. We'll go ahead and flip the guard back. We'll get my push stick ready. Now, as we cut this, you need to remember that the blade is hidden when we're doing a dado, because we're not coming all the way through the board here. Okay? So we use this guard to give us some reference as to where the blade is, where we need to keep our hands out of, and so forth. I will place that push stick in the middle of it so that I keep it flat on the board. Alright, put the safety glasses down. We'll go ahead and start. Okay, start feeding. Keep it tight to the fence. I let it feed all the way through. Let it drop to the ground, or if you have a partner, they can grab it. Just go ahead and feed all of these through. We'll go ahead and shut it down. Wait for it to come to a complete stop. We'll readjust our fence here and grab our boards. Okay, we've got our pieces here. We need to adjust the fence. We're going to move the fence an 1/8 inch to the left for the second cut. We'll go ahead and double check. So I'll simply place this over. Alright, I can come over just a slight amount. I want to get the full blade width. Alright, now I'm getting the full blade width plus a little bit, so we'll just tap it. Alright, we're good to go. Flip the guard back. We'll now go ahead and make the second cut. When you make the second cut, make sure that you're going right alongside the same cut and not flipping the board and putting the cut to the other side. Now done cutting the dados. Wait for the blade to come to a complete stop again. Okay. Once we have the dado cut in on all of our pieces, there's two different ways that we can go ahead and cut the rabbets in our side pieces. Our side pieces for the Woods 2 project are the shorter pieces. We need to put a 1/2 inch rabbet on each end. The two ways that we can do this is we can do it by the table saw or the panel router, which I will show you later on here. I'm going to show you both methods. So we'll just take one piece. Now, in order to do that, I need to use the miter gauge, which will be on the opposite side of the blade from the fence, which is unsafe to be using the fence with the miter gauge in that case. So in order to get around that safety issue and make it so that it is safe, is I will use this jig, which I can use to set up my distance, and as I move forward, I come away from the fence and I'm not using the fence any longer. Okay? So we will take this and I will slide it up basically alongside the blade here. And I need to have, simply take my side and I can go ahead and mark it by placing it flush on the outside. Okay, so we'll take our pen, we'll lay it flush with the edge. We'll take our pen here and I will mark the inside. And what I like to do for marking as well is just transfer it to the outer edge just a little bit so that I can actually see it as I line it up. And what I'll do is I can actually slide this to the back just a little bit, snug it up just a little bit, and we'll take our fence, bring the fence up to it, and I'm looking for the left side of the blade to be even with the mark. Okay? Went a little bit too far. Actually, set it right on top of the blade. We're good to go. You'll notice that I didn't change the height of the blade at all. It's the same depth that we're using. Now, I will go ahead and take my gauge or jig here and slide it forward. We'll go ahead and clamp it tight to the fence. Now, I can grab my miter gauge, go ahead, square it up, so I'll slide it in the groove here. Loosen it up, re-clamp it, flip it back over. I now have it squared away. Now I can go ahead and take my side with the dado down, place it against, and you can see as I come off, I'm no longer up against the fence. Alright? So we'll go ahead and flip the guard back over. Now, as I come all the way through, I want it to come all the way through, I will pull it back over, come back, and I will simply chew away the end by simply moving a little further away on each pass, away from the piece here, about an 1/8 inch, until I have my rabbet completed. So we have the rabbet placed on here. Now, there is one inherent issue with doing it this method, and that method is to the bottom of the rabbet, you might have small little ridges. Many times, it's not going to create a problem, but if it does, we can simply take a file and dress it with a file, 1 or 2 passes, and normally we'll take care of it. Okay? And we end up having a nice, tight, smooth joint. Okay? We'll go ahead and finish up this end with the same setup, and then I'll show you the panel router. Okay, we're over here at the panel router, continuing with the applying a rabbet to the two sides, the second method that we can use is by using the panel router here. In the panel router, we have a flat end mill bit. I'll go ahead and mark the same way that I did, place my slide flush or front or back. I will go ahead and make my mark. I will need the mark on the left side to mark up or line up with the gauge on the router here. We'll go ahead and get that lined up. Because this material is 1/2 inch and all of these clamps are set up for 3/4 inch material, we have this piece of 1/4 inch plywood that we'll just slide over the top of it. We'll just slide it back. We'll go ahead and clamp that down. That will hold it, but to ensure, we'll go ahead and take a secondary piece here and just simply clamp that in so that our piece cannot slide this way. We have a secondary piece here that we can basically butt up against the end to ensure that the piece will not work this way. You can see that on the end of it here, it's already cut down to the depth that we're likely going to be setting for or close to it. Right? I can go ahead and pull the pin here and loosen the clamp here on the router, and I can go ahead and look and apply the depth of cut that I need by simply turning the motor to the base. Once I get my depth of cut, go ahead and put the pin back here in the shield, and we can go ahead and turn the router on here and make our cut. I'm going to place my hand on top of the router here to ensure that the torque of the motor will not turn into the base and motor, changing my depth of cut, as sometimes that does happen. I'll go ahead and pull the trigger. Go ahead, slide my piece out, right? And I there have my rabbet, basically the same, very flat bottom, which is a nicer effect. So this is the second method. We can certainly do that. This method here, using the table saw, gave us a little jig. We can easily clean that up with the file, and again, we get the same desired effect. All right. So either method works. That will give us the rabbet on the ends of the two sides. Here we have the data which we did on the table saw. And that gives us the 4 pieces completed for making the drawer. The last step that we need to do is calculate out the size of the bottom, cut the bottom, dry fit it, and assemble the drawer. As I stated before, the last step that I need to do here is calculate out the size of the bottom and get that cut to size. If this is my side, to calculate the bottom, I can simply measure the distance on the in-between. If my dado here is a 1/4 inch, measure my size here, which is 12 3/16, add a 1/2 inch to that, and that would give me that dimension there. If this is my front to back, which fits into the dado, or into the rabbet here, and the dado is at the same depth, that means that the other dimension is the same dimension as what I have here on your drawer. Measure it, cut it. Once I have my piece, I want to dry fit it. I want to ensure that my joints with the bottom end fit nice and tight, just like what I have here where the joint is closed. I also want to check it from this dimension to make sure that I'm not getting a gap this way as well. If I'm getting a gap, what it means is that the bottom is still slightly too large. I need to shave it down. I want to ensure that I have good tight joints. Once you have good tight joints, you can go ahead and assemble it.